Hey everyone, today I'm going to tell you about 5 historical facts so uncomfortable or strange that they're rarely included in school textbooks. And no conspiracy theories here, just documents, chronicles, and shocking reality. Let's dive in. The Paris textile plague. Did you know that in the 19th century, Paris almost got wiped out because of wallpaper? Yes, really. Bright green wallpaper was all the rage, and the paint was made with arsenic. In damp apartments, the walls would mold and release toxic gas. People would go to sleep and never wake up. Doctors wrote, "Death comes at night, and it smells like almonds." It was called the Paris textile plague because arsenic was everywhere, in clothes, curtains, even children's toys. Glass tears. In medieval Venice, glass blowers were rock stars, but with one condition. They were forbidden from leaving the island of Murano. Basically, a life sentence in a golden cage. But if a master escaped and sold glass-making secrets to competitors, they'd find him and kill him. The most brutal method was called glass tears. They'd insert molten glass into the runaway's eye, just to send a message. Venetian glass secrets were guarded more fiercely than military intelligence. The War of the Bucket. In the 14th century, two Italian cities, Bologna and Modena, fought the stupidest war in history. The reason? Soldiers from Modena stole a wooden bucket from a well in the main square of their rivals. A battle broke out that lasted 12 years. Thousands of people died. Modena won and to this day keeps that bucket in their cathedral as a war trophy. Can you imagine? A bucket rewrote regional history. Rubber fever. You wear sneakers and use tires every day, but you probably don't know about the nightmare of the early 20th century. In 1876, the world went crazy for rubber. The Amazon became the new California, but the gold there was white latex. Rubber barons paid workers with coins they minted themselves, coins that could only be spent at company stores. Debts were passed down through generations. People fled into the jungle, but they were caught and burned alive to discourage others from escaping. The rubber boom created a monstrous slavery regime that history books ignore. The dancing plague. In the summer of 1518, a woman named Frau Trophia stepped onto a street in Strasbourg and started dancing. She danced for days. Within a week, 30 people joined her. Within a month, 400. They danced until their feet bled, until they had heart attacks, until they died. Doctors were powerless. They thought it was hot blood and advised dancing even more to sweat out the sickness. Dozens died from exhaustion and strokes. Historians still argue mass hysteria, ergot poisoning, or something mystical. The library that burned itself. The Library of Alexandria wasn't burned once. It was burned 3 times. And the most painful fire happened because of Julius Caesar. He ordered his own ships set on fire in the harbor. But the wind spread the flames to the city and the library. Thousands of scrolls were lost. In 391 AD, Christian fanatics burned what was left. And the final blow came in 640 AD when Arab forces arrived. Caliph Omar reportedly said, "If these books agree with the Quran, they're useless. If they disagree, they're harmful." For 6 months, the baths of Alexandria were heated with papyrus scrolls. Why Eskimos never ate penguins. You know the joke about why Eskimos don't eat penguins. The usual answer is because they live at opposite poles. But few people know they once could have met. In the 16th century, Europeans discovered a bird they called the northern penguin, the great auk. It lived in the North Atlantic, couldn't fly, and was easy prey. Sailors killed them by the thousands for meat, fat, and feathers. The last pair was killed in Iceland in 1844. Humans wiped out an entire species before even reaching Antarctica. Real penguins just happened to look similar. Salt worth more than gold. Today salt costs pennies, but in medieval Africa, it was literally traded for its weight in gold. In Mali, Ghana, and other empires, salt was a strategic resource. Caravans carrying salt crossed the Sahara guarded by thousands of warriors. Merchants buried salt in the ground to hide it from thieves and only dug it up for trade. Traders in Timbuktu could receive as much gold as the salt they brought weighed. Why? Because without salt, people and livestock die from heat exhaustion, and in Africa, that was a matter of survival. The women history forgot. Do you know who really built New York's skyscrapers, welders, riveters, and draftswomen? During World War E, men went to fight, and industry came to a halt. So thus launched the Rosie the Riveter campaign. Millions of women went to work in factories. They welded ship hulls, assembled airplanes, poured steel. After the war, they were simply thrown out and told, "Go back to the kitchen." Historians erased their contribution for decades. But without them, America wouldn't have won the arms race. The Phantom Island. Until 2012, there was an island on world maps that doesn't exist. Sandy Island. A British captain discovered it in 1877, marked the coordinates, and put it on maps. Expeditions searched for it for decades. In the 20th century, ships sailed to those coordinates and found nothing. But the island kept appearing on maps because someone must have seen it. Finally, in 2012, Australian scientists proved it doesn't exist. A 19th century recording error, probably a mistaken iceberg or a mirage, haunted maps for 135 years. The city that raised itself. In the 19th century, Chicago was drowning in its own filth. The city was built on a swamp, and sewage flowed directly into Lake Michigan, the same lake they drank from. Cholera broke out. Engineers proposed a radical solution. Lift the entire city. Literally, buildings stayed where they were, but workers dug tunnels underneath. They raised Chicago using jacks. Some buildings went up for meters. The heaviest structures, like the Tremont Hotel, were lifted by 1,800 men working together with screwjacks. They built a new sewer system underneath, and the old street level became basements. Chicago literally rose out of the mud. Why Romans ate standing. In ancient Rome, it wasn't common to sit at a table while eating. Actually, only men could sit, and even then, they reclined. But there was a strange tradition. During feasts, slaves had to stand and eat only what fell from the table. Literally, masters would throw bones and scraps on the floor, and slaves would pick them up. This was considered normal. What's more, wealthy homes had special crying rooms where disobedient slaves were sent so no one could hear them during beatings. Food and violence in Rome went hand in hand. The tea that cost America. You've heard of the Boston Tea Party. Britain taxed tea. The colonists got angry and dumped 342 chests into the harbor. But few people know that this tea didn't belong to the British, it belonged to America itself, or rather, the East India Company, where many American merchants owned shares. So the colonists destroyed goods they themselves had a stake in. Why? Because Britain allowed the company to sell tea directly, cutting out local middlemen. Those middlemen lost profits and organized the protest. So the American Revolution started because a few businessmen couldn't agree on the tea market. Coffee in prison. In 18th century France, there was a famous prison called the Bastille. People were thrown in there without trial by direct order of the king. But prisoners lived like they were in a hotel. They were allowed to bring furniture, books, and play cards. The most surprising part, they were served coffee every morning. Coffee was considered a luxury, but the king wanted his prisoners to feel like guests. The Marquis de Sade, who spent 5 years in the Bastille, demanded coffee with milk and fresh croissants. When guards refused, he'd throw tantrums. So the French Revolution started partly because of dissatisfaction with the quality of prison coffee. History isn't just dates and rulers. It's millions of human lives, strange coincidences, and brutal laws. Which fact shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments. And remember, behind every object in your home, there might be someone's tragedy or a great discovery. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. See you.